Great. Well, welcome. Today we are going to be doing a panel redefining creation in the media and entertainment pipeline. And we have Hardie here from Pickford AI and Katya from Showrunner. And what we're going to be framing, I guess I should introduce myself. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a freelance producer, and I've had the pleasure of getting to work with integrating AI into studio level workflows for the past couple of years now. It has been really exciting and interesting space to be at, and I'm so thrilled to share what these guys are working on. So kind of the framework that we're going to be talking about in our session is that in the past, filmmaking's always been a one-to-many platform. And now we are in a space where the audience really gets to be part of that interaction and story creation. So that's where we're going to really be talking about today. And why don't we get started and each of you introduce yourselves and your platform. We have a little video for each one. Hardie, why don't you get us rolling?
Hi, I'm Hardie Tankersley. I run commercial partnerships for a startup called Pickford AI. Yes, it's named after Mary Pickford, the star, who was a big proponent of technology in Hollywood. My background is kind of half and half. I spent half my career in Silicon Valley and the other half in Hollywood. So I've worked at a bunch of big tech companies like Apple and in the early era of streaming at real networks, and now, and then I spent a decade at Fox, running the digital side of the TV business. And so I'm always just trying to find the next new interesting thing, and AI is kind of changing everything in very interesting ways. And so we at Pickford are attacking the notion of interactive narrative. So we've had this idea of interactive storytelling for decades, which is kind of path-based, where you would make a ton of show and then let the audience choose a path. We've seen this in stuff like Black Mirror, Bandersnatch on Netflix. And there's a bunch of issues with doing that. One is it's fairly limited. Like there's only one path for the entire audience. And it's kind of either or at each branch. And then you also have to produce a lot more content than is actually in the experience. So if you've got like a 1 hour show, you got to produce 10 hours of show for people to navigate all the paths. With AI, we can now generate the show in real time on the fly. And we can also have the show listen to the audience in kind of an open-ended way. It's not a vote either or, but it's a dialogue. It's a conversation. It's essentially a chat room. So we have two different experiences that we're running, and we've shown most of these at like all the big film festivals. We've been to Cannes and Sundance and Busan, and then we just recently started putting this in live theaters. So we ran a screening series at the Alamo Drafthouse in LA, where you could buy a ticket and come watch an interactive media show. That show is called First Date. Basically, the audience creates two characters and we put them on a blind date. The audience can define their names, their identities, their backstory, their personality traits, and then the engine will just generate a show, and you can watch these characters interact. Then while the show is going on, you can throw ideas at them, and it becomes a little bit like improv comedy with digital actors. We're not trying to be photoreal, so I'm going to show you something. It's animation, but it's real-time 3D generated. It's game engine assets that are real-time 3D. And then you've got a family of AI managers that are producing this show in real time. You've got like a director AI that's overseeing. You've got writers that are creating dialogue for the characters. You've got a director of photography that's selecting shots and cuts. And all this happens in real time. Our next show that we've developed is called Whispers. It's an interactive murder mystery. So we're going to take this concept and attack the notion of like a police procedural. And the audience can collaborate in solving the crime. The overall pitch is that the lead detective is a guy who hears whispers in his head, and the audience is the whispers in their head. So the audience we put up a QR code on the screen, the audience gets their phone out and they can say anything they want, and the AI will pick up ideas from the audience at its discretion. So the characters stay in character, the story stays in the story, but it becomes alive and interactive, and it's different every time. So now let's roll a little trailer for Whispers.
Oh, hey, that's me.
Kent and I are a different type of detective.
The whispers I hear, I don't know what they are, but they help me solve crime.
If you don't get a confession, the killer will walk.
I got it.
So, what are the whispers saying? 2 suspects, both with motive, means, and opportunity. Which one is the killer?
The whispers will tell us. Shall we begin?
I didn't hurt her, okay? I'm all about positivity and good vibes.
I would never hurt anyone. Yes, I wanted Jessica gone, but not dead.
Jessica was destroying your life, and you executed a permanent solution.
She wouldn't leave me alone, ever. Even when I begged her.
She's cracking.
I did it. I picked up that Marvel bookend and I killed her!
The whispers never lie.
So you get a sense of what it looks like. Every note of that performance is generated in real time on the fly. The way the characters move, the words they're saying, the voice intonation, but it's all pulled from authentic, human creation. So the voices are human voice actors, professional voice actors that have contributed their personality and their voice into those characters. The animation is generated by artists. The writing, the production, everything is professional artists created, but the AI generates it on the fly. So that's Pickford.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, Katya, can you tell us about yourself and all about Showrunner?
Hi, I'm Katya Alexander. I'm the head of production of Fable Studio, which creates Showrunner AI. So basically what Showrunner does is it allows the audience to remix content. So we can create original shows or buy IP of original shows, and it goes up on the platform. And then the audience who is a fan of those shows can come on and they can create new episodes. They can create episodes where they are the star of the show. They can create new season endings. They can do spin-off shows of a specific character that they might be a fan of. So it allows the audience to not just watch the media that they are consuming, but actually participate in the media that they're consuming. And in a way, there's also a social media aspect because everybody can see what everybody else is generating. So you can feed off of what other people are creating and what other people are doing. Yeah. I'm not interested in AI as recreating a process that we already have and already works. I'm way more interested in AI creating something that would have otherwise been impossible without it. Let's make something new that has never been done before.
It's going to transform Hollywood, but in a much bigger way. It's not going to just be a way to make movies cheaper. Movies and TV shows are going to become playable. Showrunner is magic.
Creators can give their shows to all of their fans. Once a show is up on Showrunner, fans can come in, they can add themselves into shows, they can create more episodes. Every single time a user generates more content from your show, the creators of that world are getting paid for those generations.
Making a character truly live is the greatest artistic quest. And that's going to transform movies, that's going to transform TV, that's going to transform gaming. And we're just at this very little sliver of it with Showrunner, but we're at the beginning.
Great. Thank you both. All right. So just to get a little discussion going, in your opinion, you guys have different approaches to how the audience is integrated and who's creating. So in your opinion, who is the creator? Is it the world builder? Is it the audience? Or is it the AI? Or is it some combination?
I think to a certain extent, it's a combination. Ultimately, the creator of the show is the creator because they've come up with the IP, they've come up with the characters, they've come up with the scenario and the style, and people underestimate how much really goes into that. But I also think that when you have created something and you give it to the world, it doesn't necessarily belong to you anymore in a certain way, in the sense of people can make fan fiction about it. People can have their own opinions of it. And so for us, I think that once the creator has, created, it becomes a collaboration at that point. But I do think that the original person who made it is the ultimate creator of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a creator, right? Somebody still had to have the ideas. In some sense, we're in this argument of what's a tool, and like the early days of like, okay, we invented typeset lithography, right? And like, oh, we don't have to have calligraphers like write out letters in books anymore. We can just stamp out a book, and is that cheating somehow? Because I'm not handcrafting each letter. I think we do get a little lost in that discussion because it does look so easy now. Oh, I can just like type in an idea and like a TV show comes out. It doesn't really work that way. It's not that good. There's still a lot of work for the creator to do in terms of understanding a story. You can still tell the difference between talent and somebody who's just hacking around, right? There's a lot to understand that's very human about storytelling. And that hasn't changed. These tools don't change that, but they do let you create more. I mean, there's another argument that the CEO of Suno makes about music. Like, music is very low barrier to entry. Anybody can pick up a guitar or bang at a piano, but it's really hard to get good at it. Suno, his argument is now anybody can make music. Does that make music less valuable? Or is that means you're not really a creator because you haven't spent 20 years like practicing the piano 8 hours a day to be a professional, performer? You can still have ideas. So it's a very interesting and kind of blurry line that we're entering, but there's absolutely still a creator.
All right, great. Katya, question for you. When the audience starts to rewrite character, rewrite narrative, where do the guardrails go up to keep it into a coherent story? And when does the project go off the rails?
Well, sometimes it's fun when a project does go off the rails, but when we're creating a show, those guardrails are very important. As in, when we're creating a character, there is an idea of what that character would and would not do, and they're not going to do something that they wouldn't do. And so one of the things we tell creators that are working with us is you're not just writing a script and thinking about this stuff, you're actually building an entire world. So you actually can't just think in this moment, what would a character do or not do, or what are the rules of this story? You have to think about it in every scenario and sort of program that in, because I also think it's not as much fun if the characters are just doing whatever they want to do, because the audience members want to interact with that specific show. So they want the characters to act how they would act. And so I think where things go off the rails is more people sort of trying to top each other, as in like they want to make the funniest version of that show or the funniest outcome of a scenario. So the actors and the story will always work within the rules of that world, but you can sort of top each other with how funny it is or how crazy of a concept it is.
This is probably going to be for both of you. When we're storytelling or we're going to a movie, so important is the element of surprise, the drama, the things we don't expect to come, the irony, and things like subtext that we love. How do you keep that alive for the audience? Or do you? Or how does the audience get that same dopamine fix, when they're watching?
I mean, I think there's some interesting ways to think about the process of creation. There are certain directors and writers who are obsessively like yell at the actors, like you must say the exact line in this way, right? And like David Mamet or Stanley Kubrick, right, are sort of notorious for like, this is how I want it, versus like more interpretive directors. You got like Robert Altman. Like, we're just gonna, you guys, you know what the characters are. You guys just do a scene and we'll just keep shooting and just keep doing it over and over again until we get something we like, right? And there's a lot of room for actors to perform. I think there's kind of an analogy with AI. There's a lot of room for the AI to interpret, or for the director, producer, creator to exert different levels of control or lack thereof to create a performance or an experience that they're trying to create. And the tools will serve whatever direction they're given. So you can choose to say, like, we want really strict guardrails because this is the way we want it to go, versus we want more open-ended. So we have a comedy, which is this first date, like blind date show, and it's very open-ended. And to your point, it kind of gets funny when people will always try to break it. Like, when you give the audience control, there's always a bunch of people who are just like, what if I'm going to get them to say fart, you know, like whatever, like they're just going to try stupid shit. And, but sometimes when the AI will interpret that into a character, it's actually really funny, right? So the AI is not taking those directions literally and just doing what it's told. It interprets that because it knows who its character is. It's got guardrails. It knows what storyline it's following. And so you do get these really interesting serendipitous moments that you wouldn't have gotten, if it was like tightly scripted.
Yeah. And I would say with Showrunner specifically too, because for your platform, it's a lot of people working at once for one scene, where for us is a lot of people individually making their own thing from this platform. And so from that, I really do think it's whoever's using the platform. I've seen people essentially do exactly that, where like they're just creating a scene with 17 Elon Musks just to see like what would happen. And it can be really, really funny. There's not a lot of subtext. There's not a lot of story, but it's a really funny 5-minute thing to watch. But then my friends, because I am an independent filmmaker as well, and I live very deeply in the indie film world, and everybody in my life is in the indie film world. When I give the platform to a writer, they're like, okay, I'm going to make scene 1, and that's going to be plot A, and it's going to be these characters, and this is the outcome that I want. And then they're going to generate scene by scene an A plot, a B plot, a C plot. They're deciding all these characters. They're trying to get the characters to reference other things. They download all the clips, put it into an editing software, edit it like an actual episode of television, and put it up. And in those scenarios, there's a lot of subtext and reference and story. And so I think it really goes to say that creating story and subtext is a skill, and there's still a lot of manual process to it. I mean, AI isn't really doing that on its own. So it's really about who the creator of, or who the user of that platform is, and what their goal is to get out of it.
I want to make one more analogy, which is like Shakespeare, right? We've got these, like, all these plays that have been sitting around 500 years. And people just make different versions of them. They're still the same characters and story. Or King Lear is still kind of consistent to King Lear, but there are so many different interpretations and recreations of it. And I think what we're seeing is the ability for people to kind of do their own creations of anything now.
So the follow-up question to that then is, how are you defining great storytelling within your platform, by democratizing basically filmmaking to anyone, arguably? Are we diluting it or giving it more opportunity, or what is your feeling on it?
I always find that question so interesting because I get it a lot. And my big answer is always like, bad media is allowed to exist. People make bad YouTube videos all the time. People are allowed to do that. There's no reason why people shouldn't be able to just make a clip of a person saying poop with AI. Like, there's no reason that's not allowed to exist. What I have found is, because there is a social aspect to our platform, the content that's really good, people are actually watching it. and commenting on it and being like, oh, wow, this story was really compelling and funny and interesting, and I cared to watch it to the end. And then there's other things that you're just like, that's a dumb thing. I'm just going to scroll past it. But AI slop is allowed to exist because people are allowed to be untalented at the thing that they're doing. People are allowed to be bad storytellers and still use the tools to attempt to tell a story.
Yeah, I have 2 points. One is that in the analogy of music again, now that you've got these music generation tools, you look at the usage of something like Suno, and the music business is like, oh no, anybody can make music. There goes the music business. But what people are actually doing, and it's huge numbers, what people are actually doing is like making a birthday song for their kid, making a jam for their bachelor party. They're just making these custom little personal things that are not a threat to like the mainstream media business in any way, but they're compelling and they're powerful, and it's like creating a new thing. So I think that's the main point for us, is what we're creating here is a new medium. It's a new kind of thing, and it's not going to replace anything, and it's not going to obviate any existing media type. We'll still have all those things, and they're still great, but we're going to explore this new kind of thing, and we'll see what people can make with it. And I don't think any of us can predict how it's going to shake out and what's going to be considered good or bad or popular or not popular. We will see, but it's still so early. We're all just trying to get these tools into the hands of creative people and see what happens.
So one of the things I personally feel that we love about filmmaking, or when we watch some sort of content or storytelling, is kind of the extremes. Like, how did an actor push something or respond in a really unexpected way? AI tends to be an average of everything it's trained on. So if it doesn't have these like extreme moments or these, engaging or interesting places maybe that we haven't seen, how are filmmakers going to push that forward, or are they on your platforms?
Well, I think ideas are ideas, if that makes sense. So we work with creators to make original content first. And those creators, it's a very traditional process of they're coming up with a season 1, they're writing that entire season 1. We are working with people to create what the characters look like, what the style's like. Then we create that show, and then people come on and remix it. And so I think the initial part of it is it's very traditional. People are creating good media and people are watching the good media. But then when it comes to the AI, again, it really has to do with who's using it. If somebody is a very good, skilled storyteller, it doesn't really matter what you give them. They're going to tell a really good story. You give them a pen and paper, you give them AI, you give them Showrunner. It's going to be an interesting and compelling story, and they're going to break the tools to tell that story and have it be interesting and have it be something you wouldn't predict to happen because of how they're prompting, and because of they have an idea in their head and they're just using these tools to get that idea out. Whereas other people who might just want, again, to watch a really funny clip and sort of create that clip, I see that a lot with social media even, where somebody will create something that's really interesting and unique, and then everybody's sort of just like copying that initial idea, and they're not really adding much to it. So I definitely see a lot of that as well. But what really excites me is when creatives use the tools and almost break the tools to get that thing that's in their head out on paper, essentially.
I think AI kind of gets a bad rap, like in creativity. It's actually really phenomenally creative, but you kind of have to drive it in a way. I think we're seeing this now hugely in the software business. Like, software engineers are now telling you, like, I don't write code anymore. I manage a virtual set of engineers. So now I have to learn how to manage. Right? So now everybody's a director, and there's a skill to it in how you coax a performance out of a set of tools. And the AI can give you a tremendous amount of creativity if you throw stuff at it in a rich and interesting way. If you just say, make me a movie, it's going to give you something bad. But if the richer your input, the more creativity you get out of it, and you get this kind of dialogue going on between the human creator and the machine that can be really surprising and really amazing and unbelievably creative.
Because you guys both interact with your audiences, I feel like probably everyone set out with an intent on how they thought the audience was going to act. Is there anything that surprised you, or did their interaction shift in an unexpected way when you guys were putting it into practice?
What really surprised me is how social the app became and how quickly it became very social, that people were actually interacting with what each other were making, and people were adding on to each other's scenes. And I really thought it was going to be each individual person sort of making something because they want to see it, watching it, and that really being the app. But it ended up being like pretty much like a social media platform. And that made me really excited, because engaging with media isn't always very social. It's usually very private, and, it's something you usually do alone. Even if you're watching a movie with friends, you're all silently watching the movie. It's not really a social experience. And so it made me really excited how social it became and how people would try to one-up each other. And something we're also seeing with our creators is there's now this experience of like them one-upping their own audience. Like they don't want to be outdone by their audience, so they have to push their own creativity past what they thought that they would have to.
There's something really powerful about the social experience around these that we've seen. I mean, we've been living through an era of increasing or decreasing social experience, right? We've lost broadcast television. Now the data shows like the family's sitting around the living room, but everybody has their own screen and their own device, and they're watching their own thing. We've seen decline of cinema, right? And so everybody's got personalized content that they're getting lost in. And what we're seeing, I think, with these tools is the incredible power of real-time social interaction. So we took this thing that we thought was pretty cool at making interactive stories, and then we just put it in a theater on a screen with a room full of people. And it was just amazing. Like the energy in the room is incredibly powerful. So we thought, like we just did it at like a conference, and we thought there's something here. And so we took it to like Alamo Drafthouse, and we put it in a real theater and sold real tickets with real people, and people have a great time. And it's this, I think there's a latent demand for social experience that people don't have. There's an audience out there that's craving a shared experience that they can unite around, and these tools give them a place to play. And they get, to your point, they get competitive in our chat room. People are throwing ideas out, and everybody can see what everybody else is saying, and they can vote up or down other ideas. And if the AI incorporates your idea into the show, we actually put your name in the credits at the end. Like we roll the credits, and every audience member that contributed gets their name in the credits with like a funny title. But people really just want to work together and play around together. And it's just an incredibly powerful resonance in that real world social experience that I think is missing. And there's a need and a craving for.
It's great. I think one of the big questions that we are consistently having around anything with media and AI right now is intellectual property and who owns it. So a question for you guys: you have a creator of the concept or the creator of the show, and then your audience is redirecting it, and then it lives on its own platform. Who owns the final product and why?
So for us, we do make it very clear. The creator of the show does own the show. And we take it one step further even. And for every generation that comes out of their show, they actually get a cut of that generation. So they actually have royalties on their creation for as long as it's on the platform. One of the things I always tell creators is if nobody watches your show, but everybody generates your show, we consider that a success. If everybody watches your show and nobody generates your show, we consider that a failure. So when you're thinking of an idea, think of something that can be added on and remixed and be really fun to play with. But for us, we do make it very clear. We don't put anything on our platform that we don't have permission for, that we didn't, have a very, long conversation about, that it isn't very clear to the creator what is going on this platform, and the creator owns the royalties of what they created for eternity.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate. All of our content is created by professionals and they're compensated accordingly. We are signatories to all of the Guild, SAG, AI provisions. So they're getting paid, the voice talent that contributes gets paid SAG rates under their Guild agreement. Our stuff, I think we feel is more fleeting. It's like, it's live and you're there, and we don't record it and replay it. It's like you missed it, you missed it. So it's more of a live thing, and our audience, I think, is more analogous to game players than creators, even though they're throwing ideas out and we take them in. They're playing a game, but all of the financial rewards are within the system for the creators. And we make sure they get paid. So in more analogous to traditional kind of film and TV process.
So what is so fascinating is that the audience all gets to participate, and then at the end of the day, there's these really niche stories that are coming out. If all stories are getting so niche, how are the creators, I guess is probably the best version of that. I could say platform, but we'll go with the creators. How is it monetizing so that people are, creators are actually able to create content that can then actually be turned into some form of a source of income?
Well, when it comes to AI, there's usually some sort of coin or something that you spend to do a generation. So it actually, for us, was a very simple thing of just, you create a show, it exists on the platform, somebody comes, spends their coin to do a generation, you get a cut of that coin. So technically, if, someone is regenerating something, they don't own the concept of that. The audience member doesn't own the concept of that. Very similar to that if you really like Has Been Hotel and you draw your own picture, your own fan art, you don't then all of a sudden own those characters and you can't then sell that fan art. It's a very similar thing, but when someone's drawing fan art in their bedroom, the creator doesn't get paid for that. For our platform, every single time somebody generates a clip or makes a new episode, they do actually get paid for that.
Yeah, everybody's trying to create more paying work for talent than less, I think, in our point of view. We're going after a very traditional business model right now, which is we put the show in theaters and we sell tickets just like any other movie would be, and the rights flow and the financials look just like a traditional kind of indie movie release. I think there are a lot of business models that could be explored that are going to evolve as we start to understand how these things work. I don't think anybody really knows the answer for how we're all going to get rich doing this. But at least for now, we're going to try to follow the traditional Hollywood models that have been well trodden and make sure that we try to fit within those schemes. And I think all those guys you see when all these guild negotiations, the industry and the talent and everyone's trying to understand how to make this work, because we all know it's happening. And we want to collaborate with all those interests to make sure that the business model supports it. And we believe it can.
Great. What is something that would have been impossible to do 3 years ago without the new tech?
everything on
all of it?
all of it. So we were experimenting with stuff 3 years ago. Obviously, we've been building this platform for a really long time. And one of the first things that we ever publicly released was the South Park. It could create more South Park episodes. And that was just an internal test of like, does this work? And I would say that there were a lot of like random pauses in the clips that didn't make any sense. It wasn't very funny. All the voices were really monotone. It didn't have any nuance. And so over the past couple of years of us just developing this app more and more and more, now there's a lot more nuance. The characters, they actually move, because originally they would just generate a character and they're having a conversation, but they're all just standing in place talking to each other. But now they can walk and talk and they can move, and it feels way more like you're watching an actually animated show. And all of that, not even every month, every single week, we have to have a meeting of like, these 8 new tools came out. How can we use them? Should we be using them? And we're recreating our workflow pretty much every 2 weeks. We're scrapping everything and redoing our entire workflow.
Yeah, I think all this was impossible a year ago. I mean, we're really riding the ragged bleeding edge of machine learning platforms and what they can do. And to your point, every week we have a new thing that couldn't have been done last week. I think that the fundamental interaction is that the advent of the, I guess loosely known, the LLM, and all of the advanced machine learning models in terms of the visuals. A year ago, like I said, we've been trying to do interactive media, interactive cinema for, 50 years at least, right? We've had projects where the audience could participate in the show, and it's never really caught on because of those limitations. This is the first time we've had a technology that can really interpret a show live in real time and write itself. Like, that's a completely new and inconceivable thing as of not very long ago.
So this next question may also be slightly inconceivable, but where do you see either like storytelling on your platform or sort of whatever the new version of television is in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's so hard to predict, but I do see AI getting better and better, and you being able to get closer to typing a sentence and getting something out. But at the end of the day, to make something really good, you do have to have a lot of control over what you're doing. And I'm seeing that with a lot of the top AI creators. When we're working with them and I'm getting a peek into their workflow, it's almost overwhelming to see what they're doing and the amount of assets that they have built. And so I think even in 5 years, for someone to be good and to make really good content, it's still going to be a fairly manual process. There's still going to be a lot of knowledge you have to know about filmmaking, about storytelling. And so I do think a lot of people will make a lot of bad content. Just like, again, I keep referencing YouTube. YouTube allowed people to be able to put up whatever they wanted to put up. And there's a lot of bad and boring content on YouTube. So I do think people who are not skilled will be able to make a lot more content. But I don't think it will change the fact that good content will be good content and that that's what people want to watch.
I don't think interactive creative platforms are going to replace anything directly. It's not like we're going to replace television, right? None of this is going to replace television. Television's still around. Cinema's still around. It's going to be for a long time. Although, to sort of paraphrase Timothy Chalamet, like, you don't want it to become opera. We still have opera and ballet, just no one cares. No offense to the ballet dancers and opera singers in the audience. It's an incredible art form, right? But I think culturally, how these things get adopted into the culture is the open-ended and kind of the most interesting aspect of it. How are people going to adopt these tools? Are we going to have a mainstream hit that is driven by this technology? Or is it kind of an offshoot where people are going to play around? Is it going to be Snapchat or is it going to be YouTube? I don't think we know. I don't think anybody knows. But that's what we're inventing is like, it's a new medium. It's a new thing. It's somewhere in between of all these television and cinema and video games. And it's gonna adopt from all of those media. But it's a completely new thing, and how it gets, adopted in mainstream culture is the fun part. We don't know. Somebody's got to invent it.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing all of that over the next 5 years. We have a few minutes for some questions. Anybody from the audience have some burning? Oh, yes, right there.
Jumping right in.
Do we have a mic for her or no? Oh. we have a microphone. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. So I guess my first question is, what do you guys think is the future of writing and creating stories? Not like production, but just writing stories and human experiences within the writing.
I think that writing and storytelling is becoming one of the most valuable skills that can be out there. I'm seeing it even within tech companies that some of the most hired people right now and the most irreplaceable people right now are the storytellers and the writers. So one of my hopes and one of the things I'm excited about is I think that an ability to write and tell stories is going to become more and more and more valuable over the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that too.
I mean, I do think the process is changing. The process is evolving. Like, nobody, as a writer, like, there was a great interview with one of the early writers on The Simpsons, and he was talking about how hard it is to stare at a blank page.
Oh,
right?
Oh yeah.
Right? He's like, I'm a terrible writer, but I'm a really good editor. Like, if somebody sends me something, I can spot the flaws in it and tell them how to fix it. He says, so this is how he did it. This was like 10 years ago before AI, but he would like just write. He's like, I try to write something bad, and then I come back the next day and pretend someone just sent it to me, and I just edit it and I fix it. Right now, you've got these AI tools that can do that for you, and they can give you notes. They can give you feedback. So there are writers that crave like feedback. Tell me what's good and what's not. And there's a new process where you can have a dialogue with an AI.
Like it's like a partner.
Yeah. And so I think there are opportunities to evolve that process and to get more creative in a new way.
And I'll throw one in because I just actually, I just spoke at USC Film School. And one of the things that I do with it, because I'm a filmmaker as well, is I like outlining with it, and sometimes like just having somebody that back and forth dialogue. It's not the final word on the page, but just being able to have kind of somebody to like spit back ideas or be like, that's good or that's bad, or that doesn't make sense in a traditional structure that you're looking for. That's been really helpful for me personally.
Yeah, for me, it organizes everything that I'll be like, ask me 50 questions about my idea, and then I'll answer the 50 questions, and then I'll forget what I named a character, and I'll be like, what was the character's name again? And it'll be like, it's this. And I'm like, oh, right.
Oh, can I add a little bit of something?
Yes, please.
So, I'm a screenwriter. I've been writing scripts for about 5 years, and I've also mentored and worked with writers, and I've also used AI. So I use like, Microsoft Copilot to mostly like, bounce off ideas, bounce off screenplays. And it does work. It is a really strong tool, but I still feel like it needs a little bit more development to help writers actually get to where they need to go. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a tool. It's still new. You still have to kind of like work with it and things like that. So it does have a lot of potential for writers.
Absolutely agree. Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions? Yes, please. Yeah, absolutely. May need to turn it on.
Thanks, everybody.
Or you can yell, whichever.
Yeah, I guess I'll yell.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a small room.
Are you asking, like, if someone makes a spin-off show, would they get a cut of that spin-off show? Right now we have it so that if it's like whatever the original idea was, that creator will always get a cut. But if someone comes on and creates an entirely new show on the platform, then they own that entirely new show. But even the spin-off shows, just like in in Hollywood, if someone, creates The Good Place and then somebody else goes, I really want to make, they're pitching a show that's a spin-off of The Good Place. The original creators of The Good Place would be getting a cut of that. So we're following that model.
Are we allowed to take one more question? Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. She's bringing you a mic.
My name is Dave. This question for Hardie. You mentioned the model. With a large language model, audio model, video model, even some newer technology, supposed to make the creator, make the industry more efficient, better, user experience product better or cheaper. I mean, it's going through some paradigm change, of course, no question about it. I mean, the challenge is, hey, we all need to learn the new things, embrace that. The large companies, small companies, industry company, we all learning that. My question is, just get your perspective. I know you are advisor for Pickford. I mean, what's the future for the next 12 to 18 months in terms of, say, better quality, better product compliance, and of course, more efficient to protect the industry for the growth of for the long run. Yeah, what's your thoughts strategically? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I would say the immediate thing we're seeing most of the use of just AI tools in general is like automating the drudgery. So like automating things like language translation, like we can automatically just spit out any language, the post-production process for doing languages used to take like 3 months, and now they can do it in 3 weeks. In more languages, right? So you're seeing things like that, like automated, like post-production stuff, like finishing. We used to have an army of humans go through every frame of the show and look for. There's always somebody that like left a wire in, and we have to paint it out. Or there's a reflection of the camera in the window, right? There's always these little things. Now the AI can just find those and deal with it. So I think the first step we're seeing now is just tons of automation of things that just be laborious drudgery we can automate. The next thing is like writing process and creation. Creativity is exploding in terms of creating tons of stuff because the barriers are so low to create drafts of things. But we're nowhere near creating finished product that's like a movie that's 100% AI gen, in my opinion. Like, I don't think we're anywhere close to making a really good movie that's 100% Gen AI. Like, we still have, like, most of the tools are limited to 8 seconds of shot. It's very hard to maintain character consistency. There are a bunch of issues in terms of how you produce traditional content. And that's one of the reasons we're coming at it from a different angle, and we're trying to do something completely different.
Amazing. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you for being here. I'm not sure if our panelists are able to stick around, but if you have any questions for them,
thank you.
Thank you over here. Take care. Have a great night, guys.